The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's the Wednesday after the anti-civics lesson that we saw at the City Council chamber last night.
Well,
the most deplorable and disgusting example of how politicians think once they get elected they become monarchs rather than representatives of the people that I have ever witnessed in my life.
Well, I'll tell you something. What bothered me, besides the city council,
Everything.
was the audience. I was making my citizens' input, which I don't like going there to do because I truly believe that it is an act of futility because they don't listen. But when people on the other side are making comments like, what kind of crack is he on today? Okay? You know, if you got a problem with somebody who's giving a message, grow a set and say it to them. Don't whisper it behind other people. Because you know what? You're a bigger coward than the city council was.
I don't know about that.
Okay?
That's going on.
You know, the problem is this. The people don't understand that everybody has a right to be heard. And you may not agree with...
No, they don't. Look, the city council made it clear yesterday.
Yes, I know they did.
That you don't have a right to vote or they can spend $19 million of your money and you don't have any right. So I'm going to tell the Ship of Fools is my new name for the city council. The Ship of Fools. And I want to tell a few especially, and I'm calling them out, CJ.
Good.
Because I'm tired of this. You know, we know that citizen input of being, that was the beginning of the abrogation of the rights of the people. You get your 3 minutes and they try to get you out of there as quickly as possible. And because they don't want to hear you anyway. And we know that not one person spoke in favor of streetscapes, and the headline in Pravda is, despite a few critics. Well, we don't know. Because as far as I'm concerned, we got 88,000 plus people in this city, and I only know 6 city councilors that were in favor of streetscapes. So they want, so...
Actually, 7 in one case.
Well, in one case, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, 7 and 1, 7 and 2 and 1 because of purchase, yeah.
Right.
But look, here's the fact. Number one, you got Steve Camara pontificating again, which is one of the reasons that he got booted out of the council when he was council president in '95, because Steve has a problem. And I don't understand why. I think he's got a degree in political science or public management or something like that. And you can tell it's in public management because he said, I'm not going to govern, or something to the effect, I'm not going to govern by referendum. I was elected to govern. No, you weren't. You were elected to be a representative of the people. The Constitution of the state of Massachusetts, and I will read it later, the excerpt, that at all times you're answerable and accountable to us, the people. And when you're going to spend $19 million, and there was a conscious effort by now, the council, who, as far as I'm concerned, are accessories before, during, and after the fact, of giving every citizen and every voter in the city of Fall River the middle finger, a giant middle finger, and then you turn around and say, I'm not going to judge. Well, guess what? We're spending $19 million. We're not spending $19. And we're spending it on some things that may or may not be controversial. Forget about all the horse manure about these things being successful and stuff. But let's get back to Steve, Mr. Steve, who when he was the city council president was a dictator. I think he feels that if he gets elected, The only time the people have a voice or the right to speak is when they're kissing your ass before an election. Then once you elect them, you don't count anymore, and you don't care, and they don't care what you want. They know better. They know better than us. And this was the biggest insult to the voters in the city of Fall River I have ever seen. They went in front of that council and said, we intentionally made these numbers lower so we wouldn't allow the people to vote on this. And you know something? If they voted and they won, the people who are not in favor of it have to live with it.
That's
right.
But
the people did not speak. And for you to say you're not going to judge, you don't belong in that seat, Mr. Camara. No relation to me, by the way. But you don't belong in that seat because you've forgotten what it's about. And as far as I'm concerned, why don't you just take away, why don't you eliminate the ordinances about if a bond goes over $5 million or $20 million in a year, it has to go before the voters. You've proven that doesn't count. You've proven you don't care about the people and their money. Because guess what? This isn't the first time. If you think this is not outrageous with $19 million, I'm going to tell you how politics doesn't change. Many years ago, there was a very powerful guy in this city who had a store that they bought a lot of things from. And it was exposed that he was charging a lot more than he should have been charging. And the city council at the time said, okay, we're going to pass it that anything over $50, you have to get an RFP. So this individual, who was very politically connected, obviously, he actually moved his store over to Somerset for a while. And I remember being in a fire station, and a city painter was in there painting the station, and he was leaving every few hours. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing? And he said, I have to drive over to Somerset and buy 2 gallons of paint at a time. I said, 2 gallons of paint at a time? He said, yeah. It's got to stay below $50, so I can only buy $49 worth of paint at a time. So they circumvented that. So every time they put in something that tries to say the people will have a voice, they allow it to be totally ignored by politically connected people. And Steve, you do not have a crown on your head. You are a city councilor, and you are obligated by the Constitution, and I'll read it. All power residing originally in the people. That means originally it came from us, because we're the people who picked up the rifles, like some people didn't. Because if you were in the colonial area, you would have definitely been a Tory. There's no doubt in my mind you wouldn't have fought for this country. There's no doubt in my mind. All power residing originally in the people and being derived from them, from us. The several magistrates and officers of government vested with authority, that's what you have, whether legislative, which happens to be you guys, executive or judicial, and their substitutes and agents, they are their substitutes, our substitutes, and our agents, and at all times, not just during election time, at all times accountable to them. That means us. And for you to sit there and know that this city intentionally kept everything under the threshold where the voters could speak is un-American, and it's a disgrace. You don't belong, and everybody who voted for this does not belong in that city council chamber. You're a disgrace. And Pam Laliberte-Lebeau, a motion to withdraw the resolution to allow the people to speak? How dare you? How dare you deny me the right? But I guess the person that said, I don't care where you get the money, as long as you get it for my park, and the person who made a deal on the budget for something that benefited her school and her children and gave the middle finger to the public. This is the worst city council, without a doubt, I've ever seen in my life. They don't care about the people. They don't care how much money they spend, and they don't care what we think. And you know something? The majority may be in favor of this ridiculous program that won't work. But you know something? We have a right to find that out. There's about 88,890 people that haven't weighed in on this. The people that went to the city council, like we did, and spoke, as much as that's shoveling manure against the tide, you know, we said our piece, and you know how we'll vote. But the fact is, you know, it's just like in a union hall. I was the president of the union. I didn't tell the union members at a meeting, look, you elected me to govern, and you do what I tell you. No. They could override any decision I made as the president, because the president serves the body. Just as the city council is supposed to serve the people. But they're serving themselves and the politically connected people, and they're wasting $19 million, and they kept it below the 20, and they kept it below the 5, and it was the most disgraceful exhibition of a callous disregard for America and what it was founded on, and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm disgusted. It's deplorable. Not one of you people who voted for that deserve to have your butts in those seats after the next election. And I will do everything I can to make sure they're not there. All right, that's my rant. That's right. It was disgraceful went on last night.
Well, you know, it's that there's the answer. You can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out. And that's the situation we're in. And for those of you who may not know what this music is behind us, do you know what it is, Chip?
Oh, yeah.
You have to admit, it's always funny.
The Third Reich.
That's it. Because that's exactly what it was last night. All right, and I turned around coming into the studio today, and I was saying it, and somebody actually looked at me and said, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." I said, "What we should do is get together, put on SS uniforms, and put on clown masks." Okay,
yeah,
because
then we'll get arrested. Because,
okay,
yeah.
but you know, this is the problem we have. We have this problem in Fall River because the voters, yes, you the voters, don't hold your elected officials accountable. We've said it on this program I don't know how many times, okay? We need a whole new government, but don't touch my guy. My guy gave me a pothole repair. My guy fixed my sidewalk. Oh, and in case you weren't listening last night, that's going to cost you 1/3 of the cost now. And I'll guarantee you they're going to say, oh, that's $3,000 to fix. And you're going to have to pay $1,000. Meanwhile, it actually costs the city $1,000. Because guess what? There's never a dime that they're not going to get, that they can't find somewhere.
Well, yeah, well, you know, but I mean, just look at the comments. I mean, Sean, I never saw a bond I didn't love, Kadeem, who had to sell his own property off because he couldn't keep it afloat, and said it was a financial decision, not the fact that he can't manage himself. And then we have Councilor Ponte had a similar assessment talking about leveraging the bond market. Well, you know something, isn't it ironic that most of these people that love bonds because they don't have to pay them, or they only pay 1/88,000th of it because they're only one citizen, that they're mortgaging our great-great-grandchildren to make statements like it doesn't affect the budget. Everything affects the budget. Our bond rating, everything affects the budget. And they love to bond. But isn't it ironic that these financial geniuses can't run their own houses?
But you know,
and our mayor, who couldn't get a car loan because he didn't have enough income.
But the city council gave him a brand new car last night.
Of course, that's why we bond. If you can't afford it, we'll give it to you because the taxpayers. And he couldn't get a mortgage for a house,
right?
Because he didn't have enough income at the time, and he has no credit. And all his businesses were dismal failures. You know why? Because you can't bond excessively in business. because you put yourself in such debt, you can't wait for your great-grandchildren to pay the debt off, because you're going to go under, because you're going to go out of the black and into the red when you spend too much money. It doesn't matter. It's, I mean, it's absurd. We have a city council that tells us that it's okay to pay $50,000 for a $5,000 car.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying. Let's drag it out over years. So it's like if you go to the car dealer and you go, well, I got $5,000 in the bank and get the car at no interest, it's going to cost me $5,000. And the guy says, no, I got a better deal for you. You're only going to have to pay $2 a week. Oh, really? That's great. But you're going to pay it for 100 years. And then you find out that you paid $50,000 or $500,000 for a $5,000 item.
Yeah.
And they don't care about the interest. And you know why they don't care? You can't run private industry that way. That's why nobody from private industry that has an ultra successful business ever gets into government. That's the reason that whether you agree or disagree with Trump, he knows how to move money around and he knows what he's got to do. And he went bankrupt because in private industry, if you go over your debt ceiling, you're dead. All we do is say, hey, mommy and daddy in Boston, you want to co-sign our loans?
Yep.
We're the oldest child in the world, this city. We're like a bunch of children. It's like when you went in when you were a kid and you had a part-time job and your mother and father had to co-sign the loan for you, because then when you lost your job at the supermarket, they had to pick up the payments. Well, the only reason that we even have a mediocre bond rating is because the state underwrites our bonds. Let's face the facts, and the council never faces this fact. We do not have the financial ability to accept the debt that you people continue to put us in.
And the problem is this. The voter keeps electing them. So, you have to say, and it's a cliche, if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome, it's the definition of insanity. We've gone beyond insanity. We've gone way beyond insanity. These bonds, written right into the bonds, it says that this money will be used to repair the streets, repair the sidewalks, and to repair the building facades. City tax money going to private individuals to fix their buildings. Hey, guess what? I think I'm going to buy a bunch of property on Purchase Street because I'm going to get money to make it beautiful so I can sell it at a profit. This is what's happening.
And guess who owns the property?
I know.
There?
Yeah.
So but I mean, again, but who cares? The taxpayer doesn't have a say, and they made that very clear. And that's what disturbs me. Look, this thing's a joke. And I know you made a presentation. You sent them a lot of information on streetscapes.
Yep.
And then our favorite self-interest group, Pamela Liberté-Lebeau, then said after the fact, said that...
Yeah, she didn't say it in front of me, you'll notice. She waited till I was off the table.
Yeah, but if you look further, there are no successful streetscapes as far as I'm concerned, because I'm issuing a challenge to all you city councilors who are watching or will watch or will hear from your friends. I want one of you city councilors, even the ones that are supposed to be successful, by the way, are not successful, as I said at the council meeting last night. They're successful for the businesses, like in a tourist area. They'll make more money. Then they take the money they make and they drive out of the city and go to the suburbs, like they did with Miami.
Right.
They go to Coral Gables, they go to Miami Springs, and inner city Miami is a crap hole. So did it do any good to the city? No, it made the businessmen rich, the connected people rich. But I want you to show me. I defy you to show me. Because I will bring you on this show and I will sit you in a chair alongside of me and I will issue you a public apology. I want you to show me one city that has the lowest household income in the state, has 23.5 or 6% of its people living below the poverty level, has one of the highest unemployment rates. I want you to show me a streetscapes program that moved that city from the bottom even to the middle.
I'll take it 2 points up.
Yes, you idiots still, after all these programs, whether it's, and by the way, Pleasant Street, the street still looks pretty good. It's paved pretty well. That paving's been holding up pretty well from Stafford Square up to Bogle Hill. But it didn't do any good for the economy, as the president of the Flint Neighborhood Association told us very clearly on our show. But, you know, it doesn't, you've been doing this for years. And these promises, pie in the sky, and this is going to fix it 30 years, and Steve Camara talking about, oh, it didn't work in the Flint because they didn't have matching lights. That's bull feces, okay? That's what that is. Oh, the reason it didn't work in a Flint is because they only had, the lights didn't match. Really? Who the hell looks at the lights? Who looks at the lights? Is this Sturbridge Village? Are we down in Old Williamstown, Virginia or something like that, where we're in a colonial district? Or the gas lamp district in San Diego? No. Nobody cares about the lamps. Businesses care about customers. And a city like this can't have customers. And the difference between Fall River 30 years ago and Fall River today is people had jobs. People stayed in Fall River. We had more than 35.6% of the people that owned property. And there was every storefront in the Flint was full. Every storefront on South Main Street was full. Why? Because maybe people didn't have the greatest jobs in the world, but they did have jobs and they did have money. And you people, when you do this, you insult people's intelligence. How many people, Winston Churchill, Milton Friedman, and a million others, have told you fools that you can't tax your way and bond your way to prosperity? The only way a city is going to, the only tide that will raise the boats in Fall River is the tide of jobs. That's the only tide. And streetscapes do not bring jobs.
Wow. I don't know how to take that. But, you know, this is the problem. You know, Pam Laliberte-Lebeau has said very clearly to me on numerous occasions that maybe if you changed the way you presented it to me, I'd listen. You know what?
No, you won't. You're lying.
Exactly. She's lying. She'll never listen. She'll never listen. But you know what? I don't personalize. When she's reached out to me for, where do I get that video? Where do I get this? I send her the information. It's okay to pay attention to me when you need something. That is called a user. That is called dependency. Okay? I can serve as a resource to anyone, and I don't have a problem with that. But when you, yes, Ms. LeBeau, you act in violation of part of the first, Article 5 of the Massachusetts Constitution, and willingly violate the law, you aren't worth the crap I step in.
Well,
Mr. Camara, same thing for you. And I'm going to tell you now, Mr. Cabaceres, we had a great conversation, but you were in justification mode. You were in justification mode. People presented to you, 6 people. The people in the audience who can't separate their personal opinions and look at facts, and have to pick on people individually as personal attacks is poor. And that's what this city council did. This city council picked on the citizens. They basically said to the citizens, as you said, here's the great middle finger. No, you know, they did better than that. They turned around and they said, you think this is a democracy. It's not. This is a dictatorship. See, Kyle, that's what this is.
Holy
okay? I'm fed up with this.
Holy.
If I could sell my property in this city and break even, I don't even have to make a profit on it. And just break even. Okay? I'd probably be the first one leading the train out of town. And here's the worst part about it. A very good friend of mine that I went to school with in this city sent me an email. And he said very clearly, he said, you know what you should do? The only way you're going to get the message across to those idiots, quote unquote, those idiots in Fall River, is to reach out to the alumnus of Durfee, of Diamond, of Conley, and ask them, why don't you live in Fall River anymore?
Yeah.
Will you ever come back? And why won't you come back?
Well,
And I'll guarantee you, you get that in videos of 1 to 3 minutes apiece. And you know what? It might send a message to those people that think there's something special.
No, it won't. But let me tell you something, CJ. We are going to do that. We're going to get people who moved out of the city and ask them what. But, you know, it's not personal, but it is professional. I elect people who are going to represent me.
That's it.
And abide by the Constitution. And I don't know how Pamela Bowe got elected in the first place, because she lobbied so vigorously for her POC. And she basically, when she was lobbying for that POC, she told people, screw you. I don't care if that bond only benefits me.
That's right.
I don't care if I'm taking this money from the taxpayer just for me. Not for
And
the
she
good of
said
the
that during
community.
budget time.
And she said it again during budget time.
That's right.
And then she did it during the budget time when she went in and made a deal. And Steve Camara made a deal. And Steve Long made a deal. And this is what we've got for a government. We have a corrupt government. We have a government where it's let's make a deal. The budget isn't made so we're getting the maximum bang for our dollar. We're trying to maintain lower taxes. And last night, there you go. There's the proof positive. They pissed away $19 million. And,
you know,
and then next they bring the fire chief up to raise all the fees on you.
That's right.
That's
Another
it.
increase.
Another fee for you, for the taxpayer. They don't pay any taxes. They get tips. They get facades on their buildings. They don't pay anything. And we get to get more fees.
That's right.
The fire department went up. The building department went up. The sewer fees went up. Everything goes up. The taxes go up. But what do? Oh, streetscapes is wonderful. And it's let's make a deal. And it's nothing personal.
Oh.
But the fact is, I don't want a city councilor that can be bought. I don't want a city councilor that makes deals.
But the lies were pervasive.
But I want a city councilor that will be a statesman rather than a politician.
Yep.
That is willing to put themselves on the line for the public and take the hard stand. You know, when I was president of the union, I always took the hard stand, and it almost cost me my chief's job. They did everything they could to deny me that job, and they actually tampered with the promotional list and everything else. I had to go to court to get a job that I earned, that I was #1 on a list for, because of my activity. But you know something? That's what I chose to do. I chose to be a union head, and with that comes you put on your crap helmet and you do the job. I want a counselor, and I don't have to agree with them all the time.
No.
You know, I'll remind you, because his daughter now is on the opposite side. John Medeiros voted no on virtually everything. He was a city councilor for 20 years. And John Medeiros was such a fiscal conservative, I don't care what it was that the city spent any money on, it was an automatic no vote from John, and he would go on and say what we're saying now in citizens' input. But he was saying it in his city council. And you know something? Even though some people didn't like the fact that sometimes he voted no, they respected the fact that they listened to an alternate opinion, and he had the courage to say what he felt had to be said. And you know, even though I didn't philosophically agree with John on a lot of things, I had the utmost respect for him. And I'll tell you what, I have absolutely no respect for the city council.
Maybe they'll learn something from Tip O'Neill. You know, he's very well known for saying all politics is local politics. But something that very few people remember, he also said, it is easier to run for office than to try to run the office. So don't try to run the office. Okay? Just do your job and do it well. Remember, you represent the people. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Friday. And remember, 5 days, People's Debate. Get your tickets today. Stay angry.
Really angry, because you don't have a voice.